Sorry. Let's start with the talk, everybody. I'm Bence Komlosi, and I would like to introduce you the architecture for refugees. Architecture for, with, and by refugees, which is an open source online platform to collect and share knowledge about architecture, refugee architecture. What is refugee architecture and why do we do this? And who we are. There are two parts in this story. There are the users, let's say everybody who would like to deal with refugee architecture, and there are at the moment three managers, the three of us, Dennis Castillo, Zsófia Glatz and me, who are trying to do the job. Why? Around the world there are about 60 million refugees, people who have to leave their countries and have to move and have to live in other places. This community, let's say very bad way, it's a very scattered community. They have no common country, they have no common background, they have no architects. How do they live and where do they live? They live, in one hand, they live next to their homelands, so neighboring countries from the original country, and they live in refugee camps such this Zatari refugee camp in Jordan. As you see, it's a very, let's say, basic camp. Or they live in neighboring countries, they live in urban areas. This one is around 70 years old refugee camp in Lebanon. This is one way, these two projects, or like way of living. And then this kind of, when they are on their ways to somewhere, to their new homeland, let's say. This camp is in Ilomeni, in the border of Macedonia and Greece. This one is a more like temporary situation, where when they are just stopping by for a few days. Or they live in urban areas, such as in Paris or in many bigger or smaller cities and towns around the world. Or if they live in proper, let's say, proper urban areas, in apartment buildings, in hotels. And then the last, let's say, and the furthest from their homeland, when they arrive to a new country and they live in their new, let's say, arrival countries, arrival homelands. So this is how they live, and what do we want to do, and how do we want to do to help them. We use this Richard Sennett, let's say, quotation. So about together, we believe that we should do the developments together to help refugees and to work with refugees. And we have to develop new skills, because collaborating is not easy, and all of us are really used to working in this kind of hierarchical system where there is a boss and you just have to do what your boss says to you, but we believe that the future is not about this structure, and it's more horizontal, where everybody is on the same level and everybody's knowledge and experience is as important as the other. What do we do? What does the Architecture for Refugees platform do? We try to connect the question mark and the escalation mark, so we are the plus. There are a lot of problems and a lot of questions in the refugee architecture, and there are already a lot of answers, so we don't want to give new answers, we just try to connect the problems and the solutions. When did we start our work and how? Actually, it's, let's say, sad and it's kind of stupid that we first met with the refugee crisis last year, so it's very stupid, because it's not a new phenomenon at all. Probably, it has decades of history, or even like 100 years of history. We started to deal with the problems in Budapest last year in September 2015, when the influx of refugees arrived to Hungary. It was a transit zone, and this was the first time when we really meet with asylum seeker people face to face. So this was the time we really realized that actually we could be these people, and we really have to support them as much as possible to find their peace and new life. And this was also the time when we realized that, let's say, information, Wi-Fi and electricity is maybe even more important than food, water, shelter, or warmth. And this was the time when we realized that information is super important. That, as the captain says, information is the new money. So we tried to share as much information as possible with the architectural society. So we had this kind of feeling that, okay, we are architects, we have this superpower that we can do new things. So let's try to also to share information about this. We wrote an article, we organized a workshop about the knowledge, what does it mean, what does kind of refugee architecture, what does it mean. Then we like summarized the workshop, then we started to share this kind of information that we gathered from around the world. We organized a small exhibition in Hungary, then we applied for the Venice Biennale's Hungarian pavilion, then we applied for an Oslo Triennale. Then during this process we collected a lot of information about basic data, what does it mean, what is the whole refugee crisis, what is its architectural aspect, and a lot of know-how we gathered during these few months. So this project, for example, is a self-built design for the Calais refugee camp by an English guy called Lucas, who just drew some very simple drawings showing that this is the way how you can build your own shelter. So he went there, he built up with some friends and company some of these shelters, and then he also gave the design to the users. So at the end, a lot of these shelters just popped up in Calais camp. What are our goals? We try to be, let's say, refugee oriented and based. So we try to develop this whole platform connected to the needs. We try to generate collaboration between the stakeholders and try to empower them to collaborate. We try to share the existing information and knowledge. We connect all the people who are interested in the problem. We think on a global scale but try to act on a local scale. We try to have a long-term influence. We try to also to raise money and to empower projects to be realized and implemented. And we are trying to build up an architecture for refugees community, where all the participants help also each other and support each other to do something for this case. Let's say this is the current situation. There are the stakeholders from refugees through activists, architects, governments, NGOs, and other professionals. And there are some connections between these stakeholders, but it's very weak. So our open source online platforms would like to connect or give a possibility to be connected with all the other stakeholders. What is this open source online platform? What do we collect and share? We share these kind of things. How do we work? There are, like, let's say, 3 very simple steps. The first is the information. You have some information about refugee architecture. You bring it to the platform. Then the second step is the platform, so where you share it. This is the second one. So you have the information, then you start sharing it with all the other stakeholders, people, and in the third step, matchmaking, so people who are interested in the same project can start collaborating. And we are doing this kind of management, the architecture of refugees, which is only about providing a platform where people can collaborate and work together and can find and can share information. We already have a Facebook page, it's called Architecture of Refugees, so please follow us if you'd like. I really would like to suggest to everyone to check our Facebook page, even if you don't like it, just to check it, because there are really interesting projects about refugee architecture which make a lot of sense. So please check it and try to understand the whole phenomenon. We also have a Facebook public group, which is even more about this kind of communication between the participants. We have a Twitter page, and we also kind of starting to organize meetups, which is more like a local offline something. The next step is to build up this web page or this platform where you can find all these informations, where you can find on-site data. So you will find projects or basic information from real camps or from real situations that are around the world. So it's not gonna be some news, some newspaper, some TV program which is going to talk about the problem, but you will really find an on-site info here. There is also a Q&A section where you can ask or you can just even answer for questions. For example, it works somehow like there is someone who would like to do an internship in an office or in a project which deals with refugee architecture. You can ask and you can answer. There is someone who has a survey, you can share it, and then there are going to be like answers, hopefully. We also have a section for projects or for call for support, donation, whatsoever. There is a section where we collect all kinds of projects dealing with refugee architecture or refugee crisis, from very small scale to very big scale. There are articles, books dealing with the problem. There are some videos, which I think is the most kind of interesting because it's like, it's moving, so you really see, you can really feel the atmosphere, you can really see the problems from a different perspective. And we also share events, so if someone organizes something, we try to share it to be even more promoted. We try to share as much basic data as possible to understand the problem and its architectural context. And we also try to introduce institutes which are dealing with the problem. And there is this question mark there, but still don't know what is it. It's a continuously developing story, so we don't know what comes next. How do we work, or what are we exactly? It's something like the Facebook, or something like the Wikipedia, or something like the Uber, or the WikiHow. So it's a kind of service platform where all the users can be in the same time online and can help each other, can share information with each other. It's going to look like something like this. It's an example. This is the, I don't know, ArchiNet. And this is our proposal. It's now in progress, so now the design is almost done, which is maybe good, maybe not good. It doesn't really matter, the importance of what is important to have it. So we are building up now the website, this platform. We will have these basic topics. We also have a crowdfunding for this platform, so if you'd like to support us with some money, then please do so. And besides the online work, we realized quite fast that the offline projects and programs are also very important, such as this one. So we started this project called Camping Beyond Architecture, which is a project and lecture series by the Architecture of Refugees. So we are participating on architecture festivals, Architecture Sans Frontières conference. We've been in Venice in the Finnish pavilion to talk about the phenomena. We are here now. We are organizing also a workshop here. We organized last week a workshop in Barcelona. It was called camping in the city. Here in Prishtina we are organizing a workshop called Camping and Inclusivity, where we try to let's say, to promote the problem and to introduce the problem to the wider architectural society. This is the Finnish pavilion, where we organize a small informal meetup. This is the Barcelona workshop, where we discuss the problems and we invited guests to talk about the situation. And we also try to have some statements. For example, this one is, the shelter is not enough. So which says that besides the very basic spatial architectural aspects, we have to think also about social problems and cultural questions. We have an issue site where we share our findings. This camping in the city album is about findings in Barcelona. And this camping and exclusivity, this is this workshop that we are trying to do now in Prishtina, which I think is going quite well. We are dealing with, not with refugees, let's say, we are dealing with minorities in Kosovo. It's a Roma, mostly Roma and Serbian minority, and we are trying to compare their life with refugees, and we are trying to understand how to be create cities and societies where inclusivity is a normal and well-functioning something. In the future, we are planning now to have our first book, which is maybe we call it Architecture, Refugee Architecture 1.0, to share also in an online and offline way our collection. We are planning, this is like one page where we show a very interesting project from Calais. It's called Good Chance. It was a kind of theater where different cultures could meet and could share their cultural background, and they could understand each other. We are also planning to have an exhibition series which would travel around the world and which would really introduce the problem on a global scale to the let's say normal architectural society. And we are, what is our future goal besides all these things, to create the loving links between all the stakeholders, all the people, to realize the culture of care, where we are not just saying, okay, it's not our problem, but we realize that it's a real issue, so we have to care about also those things that are not directly influencing our lives. This guy is just one of our supporters. He called Cyril Hanape. He's an architect from France, and he says, I'm supporting the architecture of refugees, which is maybe not a big thing, but we believe that it's very interesting and important to say and to ask also normal architects to share our goals. So if you are interested in, please send us your photo, and you will be also a supporter. So join us and let's do it together. This is the Architecture for Refugees.